Welcome to Boundary Systems webinar series. In this presentation, we'll be talking about the advanced data management for SolidWorks, or primarily the Workgroup Manager. The agenda for this webinar is as follows. I'll start with a brief introduction of myself and the company. Then we'll jump into the presentation topics, which start with talking about the setting files for the WGM client.ini, and we'll talk about that in more details later. Then we'll jump into talking about how to manage your local cache, how to clear it, how to direct your local cache to be a certain location on your hard drive. And then we'll talk about how to conduct advanced searches, some of the tips in there, and how to utilize the advanced Add to Workspace interface that offers additional selective options that might not be available in the basic Add to Workspace. Additionally, we'll talk about table views and how to use them to further assist you in managing your workspace table, especially when you were talking about large or a large number of objects in the table. We'll talk about workspace modifications and the options that you can that are available to you when you're making changes to the objects in the workspace. Then we'll go through how to make copies of your CAD data using the Save As option and the advantages of doing Save As in a workspace rather than the common space. And we'll end the presentation by talking about the SolidWorks toolbox and how it integrates with Windchill and how it functions within the Workgroup Manager and Windchill. My name is Robert Sirhan. I am a PLM specialist and a Windchill architect. I have about 15 plus years experience in implementing Windchill and also as a Windchill instructor, and about 22 years experience in CAD and CAD implementation and CAD consulting. Boundary Systems, we're a technology leader company, and we partner with PTC, Etraj, and other technology companies. We're located in Cleveland, Ohio, United States, and we were ranked as number 16 fastest growing private company in the greater Cleveland area. And we're also part of the PDS Vision Group, which is of a global company, global companies rather. And our capabilities revolve around product lifecycle management, data management, primarily Windchill, and CAD design and consulting, simulation consulting, and product development, implementation, and consulting as well. We won some industry awards, and we are accredited for being a PTC Platinum partner, as well as a PTC certified Windchill implementer. And we are preferred service provider for PTC. And additionally, we are authorized certified training partner, training instructors as I am myself, and we train in the Creo product, give classes for Creo, Windchill, Mathcad, ArborText. Either the PTC ones or potentially custom training is also one of our expertise. In addition to supporting PTC products, we also support and provide third-party softwares. In some cases, they complement the PTC products, or in other cases, they simply enhance the product development or assist you to enhance your product development process. If you require additional information, please email me directly, rsirhan@boundarysys.com, or you could send an email to our sales department at sales@boundarysys.com. And we're available on the web. Visit us on the web at boundarysys.com and look us up definitely on YouTube. We have a YouTube channel where this presentation is being recorded and will be uploaded on that channel later on. All right, let's get into the presentation. And we're going to start talking about this Workgroup Manager client.ini file, which is really a setting file, initialization file, if you like. And this file is located under the load point of your workgroup manager. So when you install workgroup manager, you install it somewhere on your hard drive, you go to that area and there's this file. You may open that file. It's just a text file. You can open in any of your preferred text editor, and you could manipulate the entries as you see fit. Any changes you make to that file, in order for them to take effect, you need to restart the workgroup manager client. Out of the box, you're going to notice that all the options or the settings are commented out. The reason for that is that the current setting that is displayed, even though the setting is commented out, that is a default setting. So if that's the setting you're looking to apply, really no need to uncomment the setting, because the value is there by default. All right, I'm going to jump in and show you some of the functionality or some of the topic we just talked about. So the load point of my workgroup manager under C drive PTC WGM, and there's the workgroup client. I'm going to retrieve that in Notepad++, and you would notice everything is grayed out. It's very easy to identify the setting. It is word delimited by a period, and there's an equal sign, and the value is on the right of that equal sign. And if you look above that setting, they explain to you what the setting is and the different options that you could choose to implement or change. So you simply have to comment out, make the change, save the file, restart the client, and off you go. It's really that simple. This particular one, I think I made one change to it. I did not like the default web page that gets loaded when you launch the workgroup manager. So I made a change to that. I'll point that out in a minute. But I'm interested in pointing out to you that for SolidWorks, toward the end of this file, these are some of the specific settings for SolidWorks. Not that the ones above are not pertinent, but these are specifically SolidWorks, and these are by default. All the values you see to the right of the equal sign are currently active. One of which I want to point out would be the save.upload. That's set to no. That's a default, and we like to keep it like, my recommendation is to leave it as so. You certainly do not want an automatic upload when you save from SolidWorks into your workspaces. So again, you could search for this here. So let's see. So here's a change I made, just home, and directed it to our boundary system homepage. Again, that could be any web page on your intranet or your company. That's basically it. So I'm going to close this, switch back to the presentation, move on to the next topic. Next topic talks about the local cache for the workgroup manager. When you install the workgroup manager, there's actually another app that gets added. It's called the Windchill file server or file system management. And this one works in conjunction with the workgroup manager, and it directs, or it lets the workgroup manager know where the actual data, your SolidWorks data that is, your parts and assemblies and drawings are being stored locally on the hard drive of that computer. That's very important because the default value is the C drive users in the document. Maybe you do not want that place. You don't want to store your SolidWorks data as you're downloading them from Windchill, or if you're creating them new or bringing them from the Workspace into Windchill environment. Sorry, bringing them from your hard drive to the Windchill environment. Especially if you're dealing with large assemblies, the C drive probably is not a good location to use. You do not want to run out of space from the C drive. So you could direct that to be somewhere else very easily using the Windchill file system management, and I'll demonstrate that later. So that's important to know. And additionally, in addition to the file system management local cache, the workgroup manager also requires what I call metadata. So the other one is like hard data, if you like. Then the next cache is a metadata, where the workgroup manager requires some information, recipe files, so it knows what Windchill to communicate to, what user owns the cache, and all that information is stored in that metadata. That location is by default under C user and the user that installed or initially launched and registered the workgroup manager was Windchill. The cache where the metadata is stored is important to know, because in a scenario where you're upgrading your Windchill, even from it to a new build, it is highly recommended to clear the cache, the legacy cache, and start over, meaning register the workgroup manager all over again with Windchill. Otherwise, you might see some discrepancies and hiccups as you're running the application. Without any further details on that one, again, this one does not really take up a lot of space. As you can see, like 2 megs in the megabytes, not really that big. The one that's really takes a lot of space, it would be the other one, the file system management, because this is where the actual SolidWorks files are being stored locally. But if you happen to want to direct the workgroup manager to use a different cache for its metadata, you could look up article CS 37576 on the PTC knowledge base, and they kind of walk you through it step by step by using environment variables, point those, assign those to a folder somewhere, and then once you launch the client, the metadata will be stored in that location. Okay. So let's get back into this. So we're going to go under the tools, and we're going to investigate the Windchill file system. And mine, I did change it. I stayed on the C drive, but I changed it from the documents to a customly or newly created folder called PTC Workspace data. Now, if I open up the just a Windows browser or folder browser, and I click, there's a PTC places, and this name is coming from this name here, and you can change that if you don't like the default name. If you click on that, you would notice that there's a workspace, and it might have some stuff in it, and there is a PTC places, there's a common space, and there are, you could navigate to the products, libraries, and so on. If you not really what it meant to do that, but it's there available for you if you need. Additionally, what you could do, you could, as I said, it's only there for viewing purposes. Do not attempt to delete anything in here. The system won't let you. This information is locked by that application and the workgroup manager. It's not really recommended that you do that. Okay, so before we start, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to sort of clear this area. So I could come in here, for example, let's click on that workspace, and we'll determine how many workspaces we have here. So we have a couple of these workspaces, and if I simply come here to the product workspace, and so I can simply delete something. And I can create a new workspace, for example. Let's call it workspace 1. And I could activate that workspace, and I could go delete the other one. Workspaces are the only medium that the workgroup manager resorts to in order to manage data in Windchill from your SolidWorks application. So if we come in here, go back to the workspaces, and notice that the new one is active, so I can actually delete this one as well. And we'll see the result when we do that, what happens in the. So come here to PTC places, and notice now when I click on workspace, that environment is clean. So by removing these workspaces, deleting them, that does that. And even if you could, later on, we'll see how I can clear the workspace content, and how would that clear the whole thing. So I see here, I see some warning, there's some switching issue. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start the system up so that way I don't run into any issues. As of release, Windchill 12.0, it used to be when you register SolidWorks, you'd get like a different icon, so it launches the Workgroup Manager. This is no longer the case. Your just out of the box SolidWorks icon will automatically launch the Workgroup Manager in the background. All right, so my intention right now is to retrieve something from the hard drive. And I'm going to retrieve a drawing. And I'm going to save that drawing into the workspace. This particular assembly and a drawing of it, it's an engine assembly of some sort. So it's coming from the hard drive. It does not exist in Windchill at all. So the first thing you would see when the PTC Windchill ribbon is displayed, you would see that the save to workspace is available. You can't really go wrong with the save to workspace. If it's available, it's an indication that the data you just retrieved in SolidWorks does not exist in Windchill, did not come from the, well, it might exist in Windchill, but at least it did not come from the workspace. So if it's available, you have to select, you have to pick on it, you have to initially save the data into the workspace. After doing that, after retrieving, saving the data of the workspace and retrieving it from the workspace, the save to workspace will be grayed out. And at that point, any modifications you want to make, you just hit the regular save button. So once I get the confirmation that the data has been stored, I'm going to go ahead and close the drawing and jump back into the Workgroup Manager, and notice that all the data is here. And now if I jump into this guy and refresh it, and you see all that data now got stored in this location. Okay. So let's go ahead and upload all this environment. So all these need to be uploaded. The upload action, what it does, it takes the copies from this workspace and stores them on a copy of this workspace on the server side. Nobody can see those; they're still tagged as new. It's just a way to back up your data. Not only that, the upload action really tells Windchill a lot about the CAD references and the data you have introduced. So it's always recommended before you execute additional Windchill action, it's always recommended to upload the data. So that way Windchill will know if any changes happen to that data, the action will account for that change and not fail. We're going to go through associating WT parts. WT parts, if you're not familiar with WT parts are lightweight objects that can potentially, this is one way creating them is through the CAD application. So they represent or mimic the CAD structure and give you a bill of material that is accessible outside the application. Not everybody is a SolidWorks expert, so if somebody wants to add additional information that doesn't necessarily need to come from the SolidWorks application, then that structure will be available for manipulation by non-CAD users. It is always recommended to go through the process like this, and the reason why, because you get a chance of selecting what particular type of WT part you want to associate with. You know, for example, you might have multiple types, maybe unique type for purchase components, you know, COTS. You might have a type for purchasing, and on, right? So at least you have a chance to get to choose what type of an object or type of WT parts you want your CAD object to associate with. I mean, there's a lot to this, obviously, but we're not going to, this is not a presentation about product structures. So I'm just going to go with whatever the default is. All WT parts, going to hit OK, and you notice that all WT parts get created, all gets generated number automatically. My intention right now is I would like to identify the end item, and the end item would be the this guy here. And if I edit common attributes, I make it an end item. What an end item is, it just a designation that this particular WT part represents the top level assembly, if you like, of this particular. And further on, when you visit that particular product that we're storing the data in, and you open the details page, it is shown automatically in the end items table. So really, if you don't know a lot about the data, you could always open, at least you should know what the product name is, come to detail page, and from here you could navigate to opening the product structure maybe, and then you could look at the assembly and so on. So that's the idea of these end items and why they're essential. Right now, I don't see a structure because I haven't checked anything in. We'll revisit this in a minute. So let me go back to my workspace. And we're going to basically select everything and check it in. And if I hit next, I don't necessarily have to do that. I just want to point out to you that a lot of customers, what they do, they check the auto associate. I don't recommend doing that because this is a silent in the background action, and you don't have any insight of what object it created or if it picked up an object already based on naming convention. So always go through the auto associate in the workspace, visually go through the list, identify that the correct objects are being associated with and selected, and whether they're being creating new or they've been found based on a name match. Okay, I'm gonna hit finish on this. And that should check out all the object. Notice all the status is gone. They're no longer new or modified or anything like that. And now if I select everything and remove from the workspace, so that cleans up the workspace environment, get rid of everything. And if I come here and refresh this, you notice that these objects are all gone. So this is just quickly on the local cache and how the local cache works. So additionally, we talked about the metadata cache. So again, this is located under the users, admin, it's a local user. There's WGM, there's an app data. This is a hidden folder. You might want to show hidden folders to access this. There's roaming and there's PTC. So again, here you might, in the scenario where you're updating from one version to another, clearing the cache would involve deleting some of the stuff. Look it up under the PTC knowledge base because they pointed out in details what files should be deleted when you're doing an upgrade or build upgrade or update. Okay, let's get back into the presentation. Okay, next topic is how to conduct advanced searches. So it's highly recommended when you're looking for your CAD data to work on, stay away from browsing as much as possible. Not really the way to approach finding data in your system. And the Windchill environment offers a very powerful search engine, and it allows you to build searches by adding conditions. And these conditions will accept criterias, or even by adding multiple groups. And these groups will have conditions of their own, and those conditions will also have criteria of their own. The first tip here is to use a semicolon to look for multiple criteria simultaneously. For example, here, I'm looking for a bolt and a washer. So I, in the name or the number attribute, I type in bolt asterisk semicolon washer asterisk, and I initiate the search. And with the system at this point, we'll go find all objects that start with a bolt, whatever, and start with a washer, whatever. So this is a quick way of, instead of having to do two searches, you could do one. Additionally, you could use the placeholder, and the syntax for that is a question mark. Let's envision a scenario where you remember a part number. You know that the fourth number and the fifth number is a 7, 8, but you don't remember the first three, or you want all the first three, whatever they are, and give me the 7, 8. Well, you could look at it either way. So you could set it up. You could go and enter that in the number or name, depending on where that 7, 8 is associated with. And you set it up as follows: 3 question marks 7, 8. And if you execute that search, the system will find all objects starting with anything 1, 2, 3, and there's a 7, 8, 0, 0, 4, 7, 8, BLT 7, 8, B01, 7, 8, BBB, whatever, right? Any character or digit is listed based on that question mark. Additionally, if you had set up your search criteria, you may save them so you don't have to redo them every time you're looking for components with those specific criteria. Cool. So let's go through this. So I'm going to go ahead and expand the search and go to the advanced search. And by default, we're going to watch the criteria. Again, there's a lot in here. You could be specific to objects and so on. The CAD document is in there already by default. But if you're specifically just looking for CAD, you can then check. If you're looking for a specific object, you can use the add, right? Make a distinction between the keyword and the criteria on the bottom. The keyword is a simple search, and whatever value you enter here is the same value you might enter in here. That's what we call global search or keyword. But those type of entries are unique to the name and number, assuming you don't have indexing turned on. But if you have indexing turned on, they would include everything else. But advanced searches, you want to be very specific. So I'm here, I'm looking for the name. Whatever criteria I enter, I want to make sure that criteria is part of the name attribute and not everything else. So for example, let's say I'm looking for the battery, semicolon, and the radiator. So the battery, I'm going to put an asterisk. I'm going to type the whole thing. So this is now, if I hit enter, it should find the 2 CAD objects that represent the battery and the radiator alongside with their WT parts. So this is how that semicolon works. We can go back and edit the search criteria. And let's this time say I'm working and I realize that I need a fastener. I know that it has an F in the 3rd placeholder, and I don't remember anything else. That's all I know. So you could set up the search as so. 2 placeholders, a question mark, the letter F that I'm interested in has to be in the 3rd place, and whatever follows, that's fine. I'll navigate from there. Hit the enter key and it goes around and finds that particular bolt for me. So this is sort of the approach to using these syntax. They're very, very handy. And those could be used in description and whatever you like. All right, let's go back to the edit search criteria. And now we're going to add more conditions. So if we add a new condition here, we'll pull that menu out, for example, and we look for, let's say, CAD description. And I'll get rid of this. And I'll come in here and say, in the CAD description, give me something that says top. And you can see here it found the engine for me. And now what we're going to do is add a new group. And in that group, we're going to add a new criteria. And let's call the criteria, for example, state. So I'm going to select the state, let's say released. Okay, now the default says end. So now when I click the search button, it's not going to find anything because I don't have anything that has the word top in the description and is released. But if I go back and edit the search criteria, I can change that operator from a and to an or. Okay. And now if I hit the search, you'll notice it'll go back and find the engine again and simply will ignore the fact that it is not released. So this is how you control these groups. That's pretty much it for the search. We'll get back to the presentation, move on to the next topic, which talks about how to add objects to the workspace using the advanced interface. Now, the advanced interface is not a commonly used interface, but it offers selective options on the objects that you are collecting to add to the workspace. You know, for example, if the data that you're adding to a workspace already is already in the current workspace that you're adding the objects to, and they're modified, so you could selectively say which one you want to override versus override all of them. Additionally, let's say you started with an assembly, and the assemblies collected all the references, the reference parts. And now you want to selectively add drawings for those parts. So you could do that in here versus add all drawings for all the parts. You could selectively check objects out. So you could say, I want this checked out instead of saying all of them checked out, or the initial ones I started with checked out. So here you could actually pinpoint which one you want. You could automatically lock all components not tagged to be checked out. Now, if you're dealing with large assemblies, and you know, I mean, all these things I talked about that you're able to do in here, you could selectively do them after the fact. I mean, you could check out things after adding to the workspace. You could override things. You could lock after the fact. But if you're dealing with large assemblies, if you adding a large set of object rather to a workspace, just be aware if you click on the advanced tab, it requires a little bit of resources to get that view developed for you. So you may see some performance degradation. Okay. Let's get back to the workgroup manager, and now what I want to do is simply select this assembly, and I'm going to add it to the workspace. And again, this is the basic, and I want to switch it to the advanced. And you notice in the advanced, I get all this. And let's say I forgot the drawing, so I tell it add the drawing, and there's a drawing got added. And now I want to say I would like the assembly and the drawing to be tagged for checkout. So we'll be tagged for checkout. And everything else I need to lock, so automatically lock all non-checked out objects added to the workspace. And if I hit the OK button, I mean, there's other things in here, obviously, like if you want to remove components. I mean, again, there's a reuse, and there's all these kind of things that you could use here. But primarily, these are the things that one could take advantage of. Hit the OK button, and notice now in Workspace, we will see all these objects added, and the assembly and the drawing are automatically checked out, and everything else is locked. Okay. All right, I'm gonna leave it at this for this particular presentation, and nothing else really for the Add to Workspace Advanced. And let's move on to the next topic, which talks about the table views. And the table views are a functionality that allows you to control what information is being displayed in the columns for your objects in the workspace. And this is highly beneficial when you have a large number of objects in your workspace and you're trying to manage them. So not only displays additional information, it also allows you to set filters and sort objects and filter object types, period. Table views also allows you again to display additional columns that will display pertinent attribute information that further help you identify status of these objects, especially when you work in a collaborative environment. That's highly beneficial. I highly recommend either an admin or yourself could create your own table view and add both of these attributes, compare status and out-of-date status. Those are highly beneficial, especially in a collaborative environment. All right, let's go through that process of how to create a table view. The customizations available under the table view, pick a view list, and we use the customize. And I initially had something called my table. I'll get rid of it. Script is easier. And I'm working as an admin. That's why you see the edit available. As an end user, the edit icon will not be there, but you'll always have the save as icon. It's always a good idea to start with the all view and call it whatever you want, something more descriptive than what I just typed in. Step 2 of the wizard allows you to choose objects, and if you deselect an object, that means that object will not be displayed. It'll be filtered out. Set filter. There's a number of criterias that you could use in here for filtering. I want to focus on CAD documents. Obviously, that's all we are managing in our workspaces. So, for example, I want to do the local workspace status. I'm going to add that criteria, and the only available for it is locally modified. What that means is that if I choose this table view, show me only the object that are locally modified in the workspace. Now let's go to the set column display. And in this one, I'm going to scroll down. We're going to select compare status, top here. Scroll down to the bottom and select the out of date using the control button. And you can add both of these in here and move them up under the object or above the object type indicator. Finish this. There's sorting as well. You can, by default, everything is sorted by number, but you could add up to 3 sorting criteria if you need. So we're going to hit OK. OK to reconfirm refreshing the table. And now we'll see that my table is available for selection. If I do select it, the system will filter out all the objects that are not modified. And obviously, I don't have anything modified, so there's nothing to be displayed. Okay, that's basically what the table view does. It's very handy. Let's move on, talk about the next topic. The next topic talks about workspace modification options. So this is really kind of cool. This is a bread and butter of a CAD user. So when you put data in your workspace, we're talking existing data that's already been checked in, that is, and you got options how to go about to make changes to the data. So there's something called the continued. It's a commonly used action, especially when you're dealing with production data or release data, if you like. Let's envision a scenario where a product improvement is being discussed, and you've been tasked to entertain whether it's a potential solution or a potential viable update to the design of that particular product. But you don't necessarily want to, nobody wants to commit to a new ECN or a new revision or anything like that. So potentially what you could do, you could take that data, even though it's released, add it to the workspace, retrieve it, and as you attempt to modify it, the system should prompt you to continue, should prompt you with whether to select continue checkout or revise and checkout. Recommendation is to continue in this scenario, because first of all, you won't be able to check it out, and revise and checkout is not recommended because obviously the revisions are automatically committed to the common space, and undoing a revision is not possible unless an admin comes in and deletes that new rev. So continue is a viable option in here, and continue allows you to make modifications, check them in, save them, and upload them. You're not allowed to check them in, obviously. but you're allowed to save them and upload them as many times as you need. And if it happens that the modification or the brainstorming session gets approved, you don't lose that data. So even the modified data can potentially be checked out and checked in if it's not released. But if it's released, you could initiate a revision, check out the new rev, or potentially add the new revision with all the modification, because the new rev is not going to delete anything that the changes you made, and you could add that to your ECN process and get it checked and approved. Additionally, you could do what you could do in the workspace. The assumption you made changes and you didn't like any of them, and you're abandoning the idea. There's an override option that you could go through, and we'll walk through these. You could physically select an object, do an add to object, and uncheck the reuse modified workspace content, something like this. Add, and you do something like that. You could potentially check out an object, cancel the checkout, and as part of canceling the checkout, you could change the reuse to download. That will override also the changes that you made. All right, first thing first, let's talk about this lock, the automatic lock. Really, I have no intention of making changes to the assembly, so I'm going to cancel the checkout up front here of these two. I don't have to worry about them. Okay, and let's say, yes, I want to lock them. So even after the fact, you could come in here and hit the lock, select the two components and lock them. So what happens if you open up a part that is locked and you attempt to change it? So if I open up the battery, and let's try to make a change to it. So let's say 1. If I hit the save button, you would notice that the system will save the object. So refresh it. Oops. So it's actually in the background, it did not do the action because of the lock. So if I refresh this, you would see nothing is happening. Technically, a pop-up window should come up indicating that I can't do this action because of the lock status. So that's the reason. I'm not sure why it didn't do it. But let me close this. Refresh the workspace again, and let's try to attempt this again. See if I open it. Let's see if that does it. If I try to save it, it saves the battery, but what it does, it says the modification is not eligible for upload. So initially, it does that for you, but if I override this right now and I attempt it a second time, it will throw the error. So let's get rid of this modification. And the way to do that, I simply select this, hit the plus sign, add to workspace, and I uncheck this, hit the OK, and the system should override. So we're going to close and update the object in SolidWorks. Notice right now it is a locally out of sync. So I'm going to go ahead and sync it. Whenever you see these clock icons, it means there's a sync issue or out of date issue. The sync issue can be dealt with the synchronize command or the tools, and the out of date can be dealt with the update. So one is metadata, and the other one is actual files, content. Okay, so let's lock this guy again. And let's see what happens when I do it a second time. There you go. So see a second time. And I believe initially you're supposed to retrieve and then lock, so that way the system, SolidWorks identifies the objects as locked in the workspace. But yeah, if you hit OK on this, it continue with this and regenerate. And if you try to save it, it actually will not let you. It will cause an error. So not recommended to do this. Once you get that action, you might want to close it and go ahead and unlock it. So if I could here unlock. So it's a good reminder, so that way you know to avoid making changes to object you did not intend to make changes to. All right, so now let's open up the battery again. And this time it is unlocked, and we're going to attempt to make changes to it using the continue option. So if I hit 1 on this and regenerate the model, and we're going to hit the save button, and I should receive a conflict now. And the conflict has some actions, and there's the continue that I'm looking to use. You certainly can check out now if that's your intention, is to check in the modifications, or if you're allowed to check out the object, assuming that it's not released. But in this case, we're going to stick with continue. And you notice the object gets saved automatically, and I can upload it, no problems. And now to override this change, or let's assume you want to commit to that change and check it into the system. All you have to do is check it out and check it back in, and that would give you a new iteration. It will be 1.2, and it will be the width of 1 unit. Okay. You could undo the checkout, and by default it wants to reuse the data, meaning keep the modification. So we're going to keep that, or you could override it. There's a download option in here as well that you could have selected, and that would have gotten rid of the changes you made. Okay, there's one option. And the other thing is that what you could do is you could select the object as I did previously, hit the plus sign, and uncheck the reuse modified, hit the OK button, and then with the system now will close and update. The battery should go back to the original size, which is the 0.55. All right, let's make one more change here to this. We'll call it 1, and regenerate and save the model. And we're going to select continue again, hit the OK. And now what we're going to do is let's upload it. Always a good idea to upload before you execute an action. So what I want to do is make a revision of this. We're going to go from 1 to 2. Okay, so this is the preferred method of making revisions to objects. Why? Because you get to see a visual interface, and for example, I know this battery has a WT part, so I can add that. I could check if there's a drawing to this. I might want to revise the drawing alongside with the model. So this is more interactive. This makes more sense. Visually, you can check what you're doing before you commit to it. Because again, revisions, unlike modifications, you cannot undo those or override them. They're automatically committed in the common space. So I'm going to hit OK on this. Revise succeeded, and we see a new revision of this, and it's eligible for an upload. And really what I want to do is check it in. So I'm going to go ahead and check in the battery. And it's, sorry, I want to check it out first and then check it in. And hit the finish button. And if I open up the information page for that battery, and go to the common space status or version of it, open up the history tab, and you're going to see that there's 1.1, which is the initial one. 2.1 is basically a copy of 1.1, and 2.2 is the one that carries the widths of 1 unit, the change I made last. So this is a good way to approach modification. This is all possible again from your workspace. Very flexible, very easy to account for. Okay, I'm going to select everything here and basically do an unlock. Not necessary. I'll just leave it as is for now. All right, that's it for all these modification options. Next topic is the save as command in the workspace. It is highly recommended to make copies of your CAD object in the workspace. Even though the copies are uploaded automatically, the following actions are available without additional permissions. All right? So you can do a save as in the common space by all means, but the difference, the big difference, is that if you conduct a save as in the common space, the action of that results from the save as, meaning all the new objects, they won't be new; they'll be checked in, and they'll be committed. So therefore, you don't have any flexibility in correcting any errors or naming convention or any of that stuff. So you want to be careful. Try to avoid at all costs the save as in a common space, especially if you're a CAD user and you have access to workspaces. Additionally, the save as gives you in the workspace gives you the ability to take advantage of the mass rename, the set name, the utility. Give you the option to reuse components when copying assemblies, include drawings and so on. Assign different locations in the common space. Obviously, make changes to new copies before you commit to them. That's probably another way that you could brainstorm on something. Make a copy of an assembly and make the changes, save them, and don't commit to. You can upload them all day long, but if you're still not happy with the idea, you could simply get rid of them, and there are no consequences because there are no copies of those in the common space. The other thing that you could do in as part of the save as function in a workspace, you could replace copies of the object in the assemblies that's being used. So if you take an object and you make a copy of it, and then that object is used, let's say, in 5 assemblies, you could pick and choose what assemblies you want to add to your workspace. So the new copy is replaced by the old in those assemblies. But keep in mind, that list of assembly is automatically filled out based on those assembly being in the workspace. So if that's the intention, you might want to run where used on the object you're copying, and make sure you have a list of all these assemblies and be selective, either add some of them or all of them to replace in. The other advantage of you doing save as in a workspace is you could always remove and start over. So if you're not happy with something that you messed up, hey, they're all new. You could select them, remove them, no consequences, no additional policies are required. The set name, the sort of mass set name utility, uses a similar syntax, the asterisk and the placeholder, the question mark. And so here's an example, like you could take the first 6 letters and replace them with a motor. So for example, if you take the engine 1000, and so you could replace the 6 letters with 5 motor. So there's one way to do it to take advantage of that. Okay. All right, so what I want to do is let me get rid of this WT part. And what we're going to do is select all these objects, and we're going to go to File, and we're going to make a copy of them. Save as. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to select these guys. I'm going to use the mass rename. And what I'd like to do here is make a change to the name and have the file name same as name. And my first thing is I want to do is replace the the word at the beginning, engine, and whatever follows it to whatever follows the term engine stays. and replace it with engine 1000, let's say. So basically, take the word engine, replace it with engine 1000, and keep everything after that. Hit the OK button. And if we come here, you see the new name. Notice that the battery is not affected, the radiator is not affected because those two don't start with the word engine. But all others, engine front became engine -1000 front. Let's say I messed this up. So what I could do now, I could reset the table. No consequences whatsoever. Select everything else. So everything went back to the default, just underscore at the end. And open up the utility again, make a change, make this same as name. And now I'm going to use the placeholder. So I'm going to tell it, take the first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, the engine, and make it engine -1000. And let's get rid of the underscore. And if I, same as name, looks good, hit the OK button. Notice now it included the battery. And what it did, it got rid of the first 6 letters, put the engine 1000, and it kept the Y. And if you look also, same thing for radiator. Radiator kept the last two letters, OR, because obviously this is a 6-letter word. It doesn't matter, I'm gonna reuse both of these. So I'm gonna unselect everything, select the battery and the radiator, and tag them to be reused. And simply hit the finish button. And I'm gonna make copies of these guys right over here. All right. So there you have it. Now, if I open up the engine 1000, which is the top level in this case, that would be the assembly. So if I open up the information page for this, and I go to the structure, and just look at the BOM, and you would notice that the battery and the radiator are still listed in the bill of material. Now let's do a copy on the battery. So we're going to select the battery now, and we're going to do a save as. I could use the right click, it's available. Save as. And I'm going to use the tag as well because it makes life easy. And I'm going to simply add a underscore 24 volt to the name and the file name. So same as name, so I'm going to hit OK. And double check. 24 volt, that looks good. Finish. And I messed up. I'm going to restart this because that's not. And this is the beauty of this, is that if you mess it up like that, you could restart. So I'm going to get rid of the 24 volt. And do it again. So I'm going to right click save as. Same as name, and again we're going to enter 24 volts. The OK button. And really what I meant to do here is go to the next step. That's what I was trying to demonstrate. So next, and notice the 2 assemblies are listed automatically in the parent list table. Well, why? I mean, this component could be used in other assemblies, but because of the fact that those 2 reside in the workspace, they're automatically added in here. So my plan is to, instead of reusing it in both of these assemblies, in the newly created assembly, I would like to replace the old battery with a 24 volt. So I hit finish. And now, once this is done, let's go open up the information page for that engine 1000. And if I look under the structure tab now, I should see the battery 24 volt instead of the regular battery. And you can see right here, this is a 24 volt. That's basically it for the save as. And obviously from here on, you could check in if you're happy with what you've done. or continue working on them and upload them, that's fine as well. All right, let's go to the workspace. And we're gonna clean up the workspace. We don't want anything. And I lose all these copies, that's fine. My intention was to brainstorm and not. So we're gonna close and update, absolutely. So everything looks good. Let me go on to back to the presentation and we'll talk about the last topic, which is the SolidWorks toolbox setup. So Windchill offers a integration with SolidWorks toolbox functionality where it requires just a quick setup in Windchill. An admin has to perform that setup because high-level preferences need to be accessed, and only an admin can do that. So if you want to urge your administrator, or if you're an admin yourself listening to this presentation, you could open up the Windchill Online Help or the Help Center, the Windchill Help Center, and simply search for SolidWorks Toolbox Setup with Windchill. It is well documented step by step on what to do. You might, if you see, probably safe to restart Windchill and clear the cache. And by all means, you want to advise all your clients to restart the SolidWorks and Workgroup Manager. What the functionality is, the idea is that once you start using those toolbox components, in the background, the Workgroup Manager will check them into that dedicated area. That's part of the setup. You identify what that area is. Most likely it'd be a library. And then the next time you use that particular component, the system automatically determines if it's already in Windchill, and it adds it to the workspace without any questions. So very nice, seamless integration. Let me give it a shot. I've had some issues with it today, so I hope it doesn't act up. So let me switch workspaces. So tools, server management, and actually let's go create a new workspace. And we'll call it toolbox, and we'll make it for this particular product. Okay, toolbox is active. I'm going to close and make sure that is correct. And right up here it says it is active. So I'm going to go to SolidWorks, and I'd like to create a new assembly. And I'm going to cancel this, go to the library toolbox, and we'll do the English, nuts and bolts, hex, and let's drag this guy in here. And this one already has a assigned value, but primarily if it's something new, you need to add, and that would assign a value, the name for it. Highly recommended you stick with the name. So let me demonstrate that. Let's pick maybe 3, 4. So notice now there's no part number assigned, so I'm going to hit add. Stick with that name because that's the default name, and that's the name that Windchill will stick with once it checks it in. So let's see if this is going to work out for me or not. Doesn't look like it. I've run into some issues with this. I'm not sure why it doesn't want to work. So technically speaking, it's supposed to come up with messages indicating that the system checks this out. So let me restart, and we can start this up again. See, give it another shot. Okay, make sure the workspace is set up. Doesn't matter really. And went to the toolbox. Doesn't really matter which workspace, but just want to double check. All right, let's try this again. So new assembly. And I'm going to go ahead and cancel this, go to the toolbox, nuts and bolts, X, and let's pick a 3-4. Okay, it's fine. Let's see if this guy works. Let me try another one. Okay, the second one works. I think when they are in session, they don't like to work for some reason. There's got to be a way to clear what's in session. So anyway, that did work in the background. And notice that the object in the workspace is listed as no status, meaning it's already checked in and ready to go. That's basically it. And if I look under, I've dedicated the SolidWorks toolbox as the area where to store these toolbox objects. You can see I've already had one in there, and this is a new one. It just got checked in automatically. That is basically it. I appreciate your attention, and wish you best of luck.